Number a little bit more reasonable.
Thompson's been playing.
The first game
playing well late, couldn't get it. Butler with a dunk as the Warriors are able to get out in transition. So far, Jimmy Butler, 3 games averaging about 23 points per game. He averaged 17 per game and 25 contests with the Heat. Thompson trails a 3. Thompson off the bounce for 3, and it backs in. Off the bench. Shot clock at 4. Prosper spinning on Looney, goes to the left and gets it off glass.
Great read. Wanted to go to the weak side of the floor, but there was an overplay, so he saw that Looney couldn't keep up with him. Off the dribble, got to the rim, and Steph Curry with a quick answer. Golden State really playing fast.
He has the NBA record of 6 games in a row with 6+ made threes. Here's Irving, and he drills a 3 himself. Kyrie with the answer. He's got 9.
Second time in this game, Steph Curry's had an outlet pass deflected. They're reading that.
Nice look by Curry. Payton way up there for the stuff.
Sort of experimenting with 2 bigs at a time. Dallas will be able to give you that look when they get everybody back.
The floater by Dinwiddie is good.
Without sacrificing the defensive end of the floor, and you're seeing that here early.
You mentioned the lack of playing time of late as he connects from mid-range.
You can't overstate the enormity of it. People here still shocked, dazed, trying to wrap their head around it. I still can't wrap my head around it. One of the most dominant offensive forces, really, that this league has seen. And he's 25 and had taken a team to the NBA Finals. I think 2 of the top 3 overall offense creators in the NBA playing on the same team. As Klay Thompson just continues to cook. This has been going on now. You see if Golden State can take advantage of getting the ball to Jimmy Butler somewhere in the post and letting him operate without a big on the floor.
Another giveaway, and Irving makes him pay in transition. Klay Thompson has 14, so 29 for those 2. The Warriors as a team at 39. Payton the cutter with the slam. Looney finds him.
That's the Steph Curry effect right there. Coming off the screen, taking...
Dallas still shooting 55% from the floor and just under 50 from 3. Curry, reverse layup is good. And that is Steph's 3rd basket. Oh, nice pass by Green, and Butler with the jam. Because of the physical contact for the inbound pass. Again, Green on the cut. Healed in the corner. And that one hit the side of the backboard, but a lucky bounce right to Bajemski.
And has not been able to get unlocked from there to this point.
Yeah, the Warriors as a team only have 6 attempts. Curry able to finish through a little contact. The kick out to Green. Curry relocates, fires, can't drill it. Ball batted out. Butler saves. Curry again. That time he drills it. So 14 on the shot clock. That's what it resets to after the defensive foul. Butler against Kyrie Irving. Irving putting it on the deck and kisses it home. +1. What a shot by Kyrie Irving. Klay Thompson hit 4 threes in that first half against his former team. Kicks it out to Christie. Bounces it down low. Edwards, the easy 2. Christie on the other end. To Thompson, catch and shoot. Good! Klay Thompson, 5th 3 of the game.
Him to be a passer out of the post, so instead goes to the quick spin and the easy layup.
Irving, a game-high 19 points, puts it up and nails a three-pointer. That is 2 threes now for Irving. 50% from the floor, 40 from three, 90 from the line. Kyrie's one of them, and he's flirting with it just about every year as he drills another one.
Kyrie Irving starts feeling it like that. He is going to run for the next one. He had no doubt in his mind coming off that handoff that he's going to pull another one. The trifecta.
Kyrie Irving taking over the game here in the third. 3 threes in 41 seconds for Kyrie Irving. Butler on the stick back. Curry on the other end. Hands it off for Payton. That's 2 threes for Gary Payton. Looney lobs for Payton and the easy 2.
That is, I don't think there's any haul that probably would have been enough for Luka, but certainly without exploring options around the league, you wouldn't have known exactly what the top bidder was going to give you.
And Irving with the basketball.
Important close to this quarter for Golden State. They've weathered the storm that Kyrie Irving gave them, got it to single digits again, but a beautiful drive. Gave them, got it to single digits again, but a beautiful drive. Najee Marshall right there.
Catch and shoot, Moody, and he swishes it through for 3.
We're here with Jason Kidd, the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving, the engine today, 28 points. What does he do, though, for the rest of the group?
He makes it easier, but we need him to go big again in the fourth quarter. But his leadership, he's keeping guys positive. He's telling them to attack. And again, he had a big first 3 quarters. We need him to have a big fourth.
Steph having a rare, inefficient night. How have you been able to kind of corral him?
Well, that's tough. We got a fourth quarter still to be played. So, again, we got to keep him off the 3-point line and make him drive, and hopefully he misses a couple more shots.
JK, good luck. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, guys, back to you.
Oh, now we're being told 8-second violation, but there was 17 on the shot clock. Christie gets to the line.
Mattered in regards to the kickball, hence why Golden State got the ball, but it was because of an inadvertent whistle, not because of the kickball or an 8-second violation, as Williams scores the basket there, Dave.
Hill driving. Another missed layup. Butler with the putback. Butler with 14 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Here's Christie, who is part of the Luka trade, driving on Curry. Irving, wide open, lets it fly, and it's gone. Kyrie Irving with 5 3-pointers and 33 points.
Kyrie making him pay, but that is all caused again by getting beat off the dribble into the lane and causing rotation.
Excellent pass by Green. And a lot of people, when the trade was made for Butler, as he gets inside for 2 and a foul, a lot of people wondered, well, with 7:15 to play. Irving on the step back, hits another one. Kyrie Irving, 36 points. Marshall out to Christie. Midway through the fourth quarter, Christie, contact, and no whistle. Basket counts though for Christie. Warriors have more turnovers than field goals here in the quarter. Green penetrating baseline, count the basket and 1. One more meeting between these two teams. It's a week from Sunday on ABC in San Francisco. Curry for 3. Third 3-pointer for Curry, and it's a 4-point game.
Reacts as if he knows it's going in, and it doesn't end up that way.
Pajemski gets loose. All that attention around Curry. Moody's defending Irving off the ball. Christie, pull-up jumper. Got it. Max Christie.
Golden State just running a trap at Kyrie to force it out of his hands. They'll live with Edwards shooting the basketball.
Curry gives Golden State the lead. Another 3-ball from Steph and a timeout by Dallas. And Irving races out to meet him. Shot clock at 10. Curry penetrates. Pajemski fires. Missed the 3. Curry sneaks in to get the offensive rebound. And the putback ties the game. Steph Curry up to 24 points. He's had 4 consecutive 30-point games. Boy, Marshall was wide open. Didn't want to shoot the 3. Hands it off for Irving. He'll try it. And hit it. 42 for Kyrie. What a defensive play by Edwards. And then Christie turns it over. Numbers for the Warriors. Moody hangs. Missed it. Put back Butler. 1-point game. 1:23 to go. They go to double. Edwards drives and kicks to the corner. Marshall penetrates into the lane, goes up and puts it in. Dallas by 2. Timeout, Steve Kerr. 25.6 seconds left. Bajenski will bring it up the floor and now give it to Butler. Butler drives into the chest of Irving. No whistle. Oh, now they call it. Offensive foul on Butler. Golden State down 4. Bajenski going to throw it the length of the court. Pass broken up. A turnover. The Mavs are going to win it. What a victory for Dallas despite being incredibly short-handed against a Warrior team that looked very different with Jimmy Butler on the floor.
스리볼로 스트라이크. 쉽지 않네요. 린샤웨이.
네, 지금 주자가 가득 찼기 때문에
네,
승부를
네.
해야 되는
해야 됩니다.
상황입니다. 네.
해야 됩니다.
피할 곳이 좀 없습니다 이제.
스리볼로 스트라이크. 4구. 아하. 상당히 멀리 갑니다. 우이스 뒤로 넘어가는군요. 말로 없는 그랜드 슬램. 가장 우려했던 그림이 나와버렸습니다. 그랜드 슬램으로 2대6, 6대2로 앞서가는 대만 국가대표팀입니다.
네, 또 카운트가 3볼이었기 때문에
네네.
네, 진짜 직구만 생각할 수밖에 없는 상황이고 네, 투수 입장에서도 직구만 던질 수밖에 없는 상황이었기 때문에
네네.
네, 일단 불리한 카운트로 간 게 어떻게 보면 좀 대착이지 않았나. 네,
네네.
홈런 맞는 이유지 않았나 생각합니다.
가장 좀
네.
안 됐으면 싶은 상황이었는데 여기서 3볼 이후에 붙었는데 바로 우측 담장을 훌쩍 넘기는 말로 홈런을 쳐내는 린샤웨이 대타입니다. 다 왔는데 여기까지 왔는데 말로 홈런을 맞으면서 순식간에 2대6이 됐어요. 자, 송재훈 계속해서 마운드를 지키게 됩니다. 이후에 또 스트라이크 2개를 넣었어요. 파울까지 포함해서. 노볼 투 스트라이크. 이후에 3구를 준비합니다. 송재훈 선수 좀 씩씩하게 던졌으면 합니다. 3루수. 여기서 또 3루수 실책이 나오는군요. 아하. 손호영 선수가 글러브를 댔는데 글러브를
네,
댄 곳에서 그냥 공이
네,
빠져나가서 뒤로 흘렀어요.
네, 타구가 먹히면서 무드인 타고 나왔는데 이제 손호영 선수 생각보다 타구가 짧아서
예.
네, 글러브 밑으로 공이 지나갔어요. 네.
그때까지 정말 완벽에 가까운 수비를 보여줬는데
네, 살짝
어제 오늘
모자랐죠.
처음으로 수비에서 실책이 나옵니다. 손호영 선수 3루 실책으로 2루를 밟았습니다. 손종희 선수. 후반전에 주자가 나간 것까지는 괜찮았는데 이 힛바이 피치 이후에 말루가 되고 말루 홈런 그리고 실책까지 가장 좋지 못한 8회를 지금 맞고 있는 롯데 자이언츠입니다. 밀었어요. 파울. 노볼 투 스트라이크. 송재영은 계속해서 마운드를 지키는데요. 이제 송재영을 좀 도와줘야 됩니다. 야수들이. 노볼 투 스트라이크. 자바랑이 타구. 자, 이루수가 잘 떠냈고요. 자,
네,
1루에서
좋습니다.
아웃입니다.
네, 전민재 선수가 침착하게 처리했네요.
네네. 1루 땅볼. 투아웃이 됐습니다. 송재영 선수 일단 본인의 구위는 찾은 것 같은데 이제 중요한 자리에서 또 큰 홈런을 맞았기 때문에
네,
아주 좀 쓴맛이긴 하지만 분명히 밑거름이 되리라 믿어 의심치 않습니다.
네, 뭐 결과가 좋지는 않았지만
네.
절대 주눅들 필요는 없고요.
그렇죠.
뭐 왜 그랬는지 이유만 알면은
네네.
네, 다음에는 이제 안 그럴 수 있기 때문에 일단 제가 봤을 때는 볼 카운트가 불리하게 간 게 어떻게 보면 홈런을 큰 타구를 맞은 이유지 않나 그렇게 보이네요.
네네. 자, 굉장히 많은 것들을
네.
짧은 시간에 뼈 아프게 배웠습니다. 송재영 선수.
이런 경험이
네.
계속 쌓이다 보면 이제 불리한 상황에 불리한 카운트에도 또 스트라이크를 집어넣을 수 있고 좋은 공을 던질 수 있는 그런 투수가 될 겁니다.
네네. 자, 이민석 선수가 나오는군요.
이거 보고 싶었던 선수.
예, 이민석 선수. 자, 2대6 투아웃 주자 3루 상황에서 자, 이민석 선수의 구위를 한번 체크해 보겠습니다. 이종시엔 선수 여전히 나오고요. 앞서 정말 아쉬운 장면. 리치아웨이 선수 3볼 노스트라이크에서 몰리면서 가운데로 들어가는 공 그대로 잡아당겨서 우측 담장을 넘겼습니다.
3볼 노스트라이크에 잘 노려서 쳤습니다.
네네.
사실 3볼에 저렇게 친다는 게 어떻게 보면 안 좋은 타구가 나오면 많이 안 좋아지기 때문에 상황이
그렇죠.
부담스러운 상황이거든요.
네.
그런데도 이제 그런 상황에서 자기 스윙을 하네요.
예.
상당히 기분 좋아 보이는데.
예, 정말 뭐 얼굴에 나 기분 좋음 딱 써 있네요.
네.
송재영 선수 큰 밑거름이 됐을 겁니다. 예. 잘 복귀해서 수싸움 같은 것들 절대로 이제 불리한 볼 카운트 되면 안 되겠다. 중요한 찬스에서. 이런 생각 많이
연습
할
경기이기
거예요.
때문에
네.
크게 개의치 않고 또 자기가 해야 될 부분을 열심히 준비하면은 될 것 같습니다.
예.
예.
자, 이민석 선수의 구위를 좀 볼까요? 이종시엔 선수와 이민석의 대결. 투아웃 주자 3루 초구. 스윙 좋아요. 151. 2474 RPM.
너무 보고 싶었거든요.
네네. 150이 바로 들어가면서
작년 시즌에 이제 KT전에서 던진 걸 봤는데 볼이 좋더라고요.
네네.
그래서 한번 보고 싶었습니다.
노볼 스트라이크에서 2구 살짝 떴습니다. 여전히 구속은 150.
그래서 캠프에서 제가 우연히 한번 마주쳤는데 갑자기 제구가 흔들리는 이유에 대해서 제가 뭐 물어봤거든요.
네네.
근데 자기가 이제 뭐 부상을 입고 수술하고 와서 이제 왔는데 자기가 마운드에서 이제 밸런스가 흐트러지는 걸 몰랐다고 하더라고요. 또 그걸 알았으니까 이제 어떻게 또 파해법을 이제 했는지 만들었는지 그것 또한 궁금하네요.
네네. 원볼 투 스트라이크 3구에서 4구를 준비합니다. 4구 원바운드고 투볼 투 스트라이크. 지금 150대의 빠른 공 그리고 몸쪽으로 파고드는 변화구.
지금 양팀 통틀어 제일 빠른 공을 던지고 있습니다.
그렇습니다. 투볼 투 스트라이크. 이민석 결정구가 뭘까요? 4구에서 5구. 아하, 원바운드 공 뒤로 빠지면서 3자 홈인 와일드 피치군요. 자, 점수가 7대2가 됩니다. 굉장히 공이 좋았는데 결국은 바운드 공. 이민석 선수 늘 이제 유리한 볼 카운트에서 그냥 편안하게 던지면 되는데 와일드 피치 정말 아쉽습니다. 스리트 풀 카운트까지 왔는데요. 수고했으면 합니다. 아하. 150의 패스트볼 제구가 좀 난조를 보이면서 결국 몰래까지. 자, 와일드 피치 볼넷 점수를 7대2를 만들어 놓고 또다시 주자를 1루에 채웠습니다. 자, 이민석이 한 타자라도 좀 본인의 구위로 좀 찍어 누르는 그런 모습을 한번 봤으면 좋겠어요.
네.
점수차는 좀 잊어버렸으면 합니다. 이제
맞습니다.
투아웃 주자 1루. 자, 높게 퍼 올렸는데요. 더 이상 뻗지 못하고 3루수와 유격수 3루수가 잡았습니다.
잡아냅니다.
자, 3루수 플라이 마지막 아웃 카운트가 채워지면서 자, 잘루 3루 하지만 말로 홈런 그리고 와일드 피치 후에 3루자가 홈으로 들어오면서 5점 7대2로 앞서가는 대만의 WBC 국가대표팀입니다. 8회
네.
이 좀 뼈아픈 그 장면들이 좀 있었어요. 그러니까 내안타 2루타 주고 삼진한 다음에 이제 송재영 선수로 바뀐 이후에 송재영 선수가 잘 던지다가 이제 몸에 맞는 공 내보낸 이후에 바로 홈런 맞았거든요.
네, 시즌 들어가면은 분명 이런 비슷한 상황이 나올 거고요.
네네.
네, 그런 상황에서 오늘 같은 이제 경기 이런 결과가 왜 나왔는지 한번 더 생각해보고 시즌 때는 이런 결과가 안 나오면은 네, 좋을 것 같고요.
네.
いつ もしもまだ願いが一つ叶うとしたらそんな空想を
Let's savor this as though it's real.
This one. It felt like the Warriors were playing 9-on-5 in this particular game. And you know, the refs rigging against Steph Curry and the Warriors is something that Warriors fans have been dealing with for many years. But this year in particular, oh my goodness, it's so blatant and in your face. I've had to talk about this particular issue in several videos that I've made for this season when it comes to the refs blatantly rigging the game against the Warriors whenever they are on national television, be it ESPN, TNT, NBA TV, whatever, ABC. These games are being blatantly rigged against the Warriors, but tonight in particular, oh my gosh, tonight might have taken the cake for the worst of them all. James Williams is his name. James Williams. The other guy's name is Mitchell Irvin. Remember these two names because whenever these guys are calling a game for the Warriors, oh my gosh, be prepared for a lot of bad calls going against the Warriors. Hello friends and Warriors fans. Welcome back as always. A lot of bad things happened in this game and we are gonna get through this together and we're gonna go through it one by one. If you like what you've seen so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and hit that like button for the algorithm so that it can get out to all the Warriors fans out there. Okay, let's get straight to it. I'm just gonna start from the first quarter and on. And I'm just gonna try to get through whatever is in my mind and whatever is left in my memory because so many things went wrong. I lost count. There's so many clips and there's so many things that we need to discuss. And I will share some of those clips with you throughout the course of this video. But first and foremost, that starting lineup. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but that starting lineup is not viable. Let me explain real quick why that starting lineup is not viable with Buddy freaking Hield still in that shooting guard spot and Quinton Post still in that starting lineup. First of all, two of the most vital positions when it comes to the game of basketball and playing successful defense is to ensure that your starting lineup has a POA in there. Preferably, you have a primary POA and then you have a secondary POA. If you want your defense to be great, you've got to have some form of POA, okay? Number one, number two, that is ideal. At the bare minimum, you got to have number one. And then you have to make sure that you have an anchor, a center, who can cover all the tracks, be the last line of defender, be able to rebound over everybody, be able to box out, be able to contest just about every shot that is coming into the paint area, be an enforcer, communicate to the rest of the team what is going on. That requires a great deal of experience. Quinton Post is not known for his defense. He's known for his three-point shooting ability. I have been talking about this ad nauseum at this point, the same way I've been talking about Buddy Hield. But Quinton Post needs to come off the bench. And you know, in that second half, to begin that second half, Steve Kerr, once again, like he's done a bunch of times, whenever he started Post, had to go away from Post and instead turn to a small lineup. He replaces Quinton Post with Moses Moody. Why do you keep doing this to the kid? You are hurting his confidence. You're forcing him to be in a situation that he's not ready for. How is this not obvious? I just don't understand. It blows my mind. The fans, okay, but you are a professional basketball mind. You're supposed to be. As an organization, the coaching staff, the front office, everything about this organization just screams no basketball mind, no common sense. And you're hurting his confidence and you're embarrassing him because he can't even start the second half of a game because that's how awful he was because you started him in the game in a situation that he didn't belong in. Being a starting center in the NBA is no joke. That means you are one of the 30 best centers on the planet. That's what that means. If you are starting for an NBA team, let alone a team that is trying to contend for a title, you have to be a top caliber center in terms of defense. You have to be this. And Quinton Post, with all due respect, is a skinny white guy who doesn't have any force in his game from a defensive standpoint. Please, stop embarrassing him like this and just use him off the bench and use him as a specialist and let him make an impact in a comfortable manner without the weight of the world on his shoulders as an anchor for this team. Thank you very much for proving my point and not being able to start Post once again in the second half of this game. Cut it out. You need to find a stable go-to starting lineup with an anchor by the side of all the players to start a game, to set a tone. That's what real and serious teams do. Every single one of them have a viable starting center. I understand that the Warriors have limitations from a center standpoint with Trace and Loon, okay? But you need to pick out of one of those two guys. Okay, with that out of the way. Buddy Hield, Steve Kerr. Does this guy have a relationship with Buddy Hield or something? Is he in love with Buddy Hield? Because this does not look like a basketball decision. Buddy Hield is on the floor and he's trying to guard Kyrie Irving or Klay Thompson. Are you serious? Buddy Hield, 29 minutes in this game, led the team with minus 21, and by the end of the third quarter, he was the third leading player in minutes played for this team. Are you serious? Buddy Hield, when he can't hit the side of a barn, which he's done a lot of this season, he should not be on the floor because he's a bad defender. If he can't give you any offense, why is he playing a ton of minutes for this team? Why is he in the starting lineup in the first place? Name one NBA team that would start Buddy Hield today. Can you name me a single NBA team that would start Buddy Hield for their team at this juncture of his career? Are we serious? And Steve Kerr and his broken brain is starting Buddy Hield. Are you serious, man? How is this not sabotage? The guy shot 1 of 9 from the floor, couldn't hit the side of a barn, has 3 points in 29 minutes of play, is minus 21, is getting cooked by everybody. He can't guard anyone. So let me get this straight. He's not scoring, he's not creating, he's not rebounding, he's not playing defense, and you can see Steph Curry and Draymond Green visibly upset and annoyed with the guy while the game is going on, and you play him 29 minutes? Look at the bench production, guys. I want you guys to look at the bench production tonight. Everybody off the bench was a plus in this game. Guy Santos played 12 minutes, didn't score a single point, but has 7 rebounds in 12 minutes, was a plus 10 and made some really viable and vital plays, especially in that fourth quarter, that allowed the Warriors to make a comeback despite all the corruption, all the rigging, all the Steve Kerr handicaps. The Mavericks are literally playing without a big. They don't have Gafford, they don't have Anthony Davis, and they're left with some dudes named Prosper and Kessler Edwards. GP2 had roughly 10 times the impact that Buddy Hield did. Obviously, at this juncture, GP2 is the Warriors' best POA. GP2 plays 16 minutes, despite the fact that he's 6 of 9 from the field, has 14 points in 16 minutes, but he gets 16 minutes while Buddy Hield runs around all day doing absolutely nothing and just hurting the team inside out, is playing 29 minutes. I am losing my mind, brothers. I feel like Steve Kerr watches my content, sees the things that I say on Twitter, and just decides to troll me. Just says, you know what? Whatever Jim Park says, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna do everything the opposite of it. You know, the Warriors ended up losing this game by 4 points, and like I said, with about 3 minutes left to go, the Warriors actually took a 1-point lead in this game. And again, that's through all the rigging and all the BS of one James Williams. And hang tight, I'm gonna get to some of these clips soon. But I need to talk about 2 more players on this roster, and that's Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski. Oh, first of all, let me clarify. Pod's Buddy Hield combination is dog water. They need to not be on the floor at the same time ever again. If Steve Kerr has any basketball mind whatsoever, if his coaching staff has any basketball mind whatsoever, they will stop playing this ridiculous, nonsensical, non-defensive rotational group of Buddy Hield and Potts, man. It still blows my mind that the front office did not remove Buddy Hield from this roster, man. Disgusting. They needed to go and pick up a real, viable shooting guard for this team now that they picked up Jimmy Butler and they failed to do it. They just needed to hold on to Potts and they just needed to hold on to Moses Moody. They just needed to hold on to Buddy freaking Hield, man. But okay, yes, going back to the Potts and Moody situation, these guys are too inexperienced. They just don't have the know-how. They don't truly know how to play the game of basketball. Potts, at the end of the day, is a second-year player, and he just has holes in his game. And please, never have him inbound the ball with the game on the line ever again, because what in the world is that pass? He's throwing a half-court pass with 10 seconds left still on the shot clock. What are we doing? Is that the play call? That play call is for everybody to run to the half-court line? Nobody is coming to get the freaking ball? Are we serious? And Potts just randomly throws a Russian roulette pass that you just know as soon as he threw it, you knew that that pass is probably getting picked off because you're just like, what are you doing? I want to say that Potts and Moody are useful guys, but they are not a fit for the Warriors trying to contend for a title. You're trying to win a title and you're just using guys that don't have the ability to see the whole floor, be a huge part of the equation here. These guys' reaction time is too slow in execution on both ends of the floor. They're not sharp enough, they're not crisp enough, they don't know how to consistently make winning plays. I mean, Moses Moody just very unreliable in this game. Forget all the numbers for a second, he's just getting cooked by Kyrie Irving. He has no POA ability, none. Moses Moody trying to guard an elite player of any kind. You get into the playoffs, first round, second round, third round, finals. Moses Moody is not playing any POA, man. He cannot guard a guy like Kyrie Irving, not whatsoever. And what was that play towards the end of the game where he's sticking his hand into Kyrie Irving's pocket, his shooting freaking pocket. It's so deep in his pocket that any capable NBA player would have drawn a foul in that situation. Now we all know what happened. Kyrie Irving clearly and obviously swung through to get a shot up, and that should have been a swing through move and it should have been 2 free throws. But of course, the refs take that opportunity. Even though they called it initially a swing through, they decide to then change it up and be like, oh, okay, actually, we think that was a shot, so we're gonna give Kyrie 3 free throws. Man, this video is really tough to make for me. I'm still dealing with a sinus infection here. Not feeling great, my ear is clogged, and I should be celebrating the Warriors' 3rd straight win, which they still haven't been able to get since November 15th, 3 months ago, by the way. But yeah, I'm not trusting Moses Moody or Potts in a 16-game situation. They have 2 open slots on their roster right now because of the trade for Jimmy Butler. They need to scour the G League, they need to scour whatever is left over in the buyout market and get some viable pieces, get some veterans, get some older guys that know how to play basketball. Because these guys are incomplete, man. They are incomplete players, and you generally have a really hard time winning a championship with a bunch of incomplete players in your rotation. You know, right now the Warriors have unsound, incomplete players that are too young to be contending level players, and then you have one straight scrub that's in the rotation in Buddy Hield. That's just not good enough. They need to fix that situation pronto. But okay, time to talk about the freaking refs. James Williams, what in the... Oh, this guy is a certified piece of shit, and he needs to atone for his sins. This guy is literally Donaghy 2.0. Like, guys, they are literally just doing it to our faces, in our faces. They were hell-bent on making sure that the Warriors don't go up in standings over the Mavericks no matter what in this game. And it's so clear and obvious, it's not even funny. Let me show you some of these blatant plays. I'm sure you all obviously remember the freaking kickball that wasn't called. A kickball by the Mavs wasn't called, and then the refs huddled together and then said, oh, we had a false whistle, and then we're gonna give the ball back to the Mavs, even though clearly there was a kickball. Even if it was a false whistle, there was clearly a kickball there. It's so obvious, it's not even funny. Look at this photo, man. The call was so blatantly false. The guy who kicked the ball was smirking and smiling all over the place, looking at the fans. Whatever he was looking at, he was smirking because he knows he got away with one that he had no business getting away with. And again, think about how close this game was, and think about how many times the refs influenced the call. Think about how many times Steph Curry got fouled in that third quarter and the fourth quarter and never got a whistle. Even Jimmy Butler couldn't get to the line no more than 6 times in this game. I mean, guys, I'm talking about blatant fouls here. I'm not talking about some ticky-tacky thing that could have gone either way or something. These are blatant fouls that are not being called. You know, the All-Star break is coming up. I'm going to have to take some time and I'm going to have to break down all the ways the refs cheated the Warriors. It's going to blow your mind. Man, just so many calls that hurt the Warriors in some way. I remember even a call that was technically in favor of the Warriors, it hurt the Warriors. So basically the Warriors had numbers. There was a box out situation going on. Pods ends up being wide open right underneath the basket on the left side. And he's going up for a free layup. But before he could do that, James Williams once again decides to call an off-ball foul on the box out, and then the layup ends up getting canceled. Yeah, man, there's so many bad calls tonight. Blatantly bad. The third quarter starts. The Warriors play great defense. The shot clock is running out for the Mavs. Christie tries to drive around Steph Curry. Steph Curry gets in front of him and then gets called for a foul with 0.1 second left on the shot clock. And it's just not a freaking foul. Steph Curry was not trying to take a charge there. He was just trying to stay in front of his man. He moved his feet and he was making sure that Christie wasn't able to get around him. That's not a foul. That's good defense. It's only a foul if Steph Curry was trying to take a charge there, which he wasn't. So they're calling these ticky-tacky stuff against the Warriors. And then on the other end of the floor, Jimmy Butler gets blatantly fouled and the ref just ignores it and pretends that it never happened. So the level of physicality that is being allowed for the Mavericks versus the Warriors is not the same. You know, this guy James Williams was so blatantly rigging the game. Even Steve Kerr had had enough and he went after him and he picked up a technical foul as a result. And honestly, that was some great leadership. And man, for once, the guy showed some competitive spirit and fought on behalf of his team, because what was happening on the floor was so blatant and so disgusting. Somebody had to fight against it in real time, and Steve at least was willing to do that. I'm telling you, if and when Steve Kerr does a great thing, I'm always going to be complimenting it and even praising it if it's a great move, which we basically never see. It's always handicaps created by this guy that the Warriors have to constantly overcome. Literally tonight, 9-on-5, man. The 3 refs and Steve Kerr on top of the Mavs. Man, I could just imagine Jimmy Butler going around talking to various players, asking, hey man, why is Buddy Hield starting for this team? Why is our coach playing this guy all day and night? What's going on here? Doesn't everybody around the league know what Buddy Hield is in this league? He's not a real player when it comes to playing against real competition on most nights. The guy's a fake scorer who clanks all the important shots against good teams, against important competition, against close competition. And this is obviously not a guy that the Warriors want to rely on in the playoffs as a starting player at the shooting guard spot. And honestly, he's probably not even going to be reliable coming off the bench for this team. He shouldn't be on this team, and he shouldn't be played anywhere near as much as he's being played. How the heck did this team prioritize Buddy Hield over Kyle Anderson, man? Like I said, no basketball minds in this organization. Bro, literally my left eye was twitching watching Buddy Hield trying to play a game of basketball. My eye was twitching because he's just terrible. He's terrible out there. But again, at the end of the day, we can't really blame Buddy Hield for the fact that he played 29 minutes in this game, for the fact that he started this game, for the fact that he's been starting for quite a while now, and the Warriors still haven't won 3 straight games for 3 straight months. Put Jimmy Butler at the 2 and put Guy Santos over Buddy Hield at the 3 so that the Warriors stay better connected. They get good shooting from Santos anyway. They'll get much better rebounding, much better hustle, much better intangibles from Guy Santos. I've been advocating for this forever. It's so freaking obvious it's not even funny, man. Ugh, goodness gracious. So anyway, the Warriors end up suffering their first loss in the Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler era. And of course, it's due to Steve Kerr's rigging of his own. The guy is constantly putting out combinations that really hurt the Warriors and constantly handicapping his own team. And this is a lot to get over. And hopefully Jimmy Butler will have a say in this situation and convince the team to use more common sense, and maybe some things will change. And that change could potentially come with a change in the damn starting lineup, man. Imagine losing a game like this to a depleted Mavs team, and now they have to play a back-to-back against the Rockets. Jesus Christ, man. And man, if Steve Kerr once again goes into this game and starts that exact same lineup that's been failing over and over and over and over and over again, then my worst nightmare will come to fruition. Even with Jimmy Butler on the roster, Steve Kerr still finds a way to make this team lose. And then Jimmy Butler is gonna start having to hurt some feelings real fast, which is going to be hard for him to do because, you know, all this drama that he's caused, the last thing he wants to do is immediately cause more drama with a brand new team. But maybe and hopefully he can speak some logic and reason into this team and talk some basketball sense in terms of what lineups they can play. Obviously, like I said, we got another game coming up against the Rockets on the road. Play a bunch of 3-guard lineups, 4-guard lineups, Potts, Buddy Hield lineups, Quentin Post in the starting lineup. So many problems, man. So many problems. So many sub-optimizations. Are they magically going to figure it out in a 24-hour span? I doubt it. We'll see what happens. This really sucks. But it is what it is. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Until next time.
But you know I'm loco.
Welcome to the NFC East meeting. Super Bowl. Are you gonna say anything? I just want to say we put up more of a fight than the Chiefs. Now every team in our division has multiple Super Bowls. NFC Beast is back. Hello, Eagles. Why aren't you saying anything? Maybe he's hoarse because of all the screaming of winning a Super Bowl. That's how I was. I know you might not remember because it's been so long, Cowboys, but it's exhilarating. Eagles, say something! I know this sucks, guys, but at least Kendrick went hard. They not like us. They not like us. Say Drake. All I have to say is... There's the Eagles that I know and hate. We did it. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl champion. This is officially the worst year of my life. Never mention Dak Prescott in the same sentence as Hurts again. You don't think Dak could have done the same thing with all that talent? Silence, peasant. You need to relax. 5 Super Bowl wins is still more than 2. Technically, 4 is more than 2 as well. And 3 is more than 2 also. I'm just stating facts. Yeah, we might have the least amount of Super Bowls in the division for now, but at least Google was invented when we won our last one. The facts are, we scored the most points in a postseason history ever. My apologies again, guys, for Saquon. That's on me. The facts are, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. Just wait till we put some talent around Jaden Daniels. The facts are, we're the best team in the NFL, and you're nowhere close to us, cowgirls. Please, once Dak gets back healthy, say it. Say what? Say that you were wrong about us and that we're the best team in the NFL. You don't have to say that, Cowboys. Hey, Mo, that's crazy. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll do it. The Eagles were the best team in football this year because the Cowboys were injured a lot. And Saquon carried y'all. Well, if you want to live in Delulu land, that's on you, Cowboys. Huh? Saquon didn't even do that much in this Super Bowl. Anyone want to see my rings, by the way? I do. This is from the NFC Championship game. Cowboys don't know what that is. If I'd known we were going to be bringing our Super Bowl rings, I would have brought all 5 of mine. They haven't rusted yet? No, not yet. Normally I polish them once a month. Hey, can we hurry this meeting up? I gotta be somewhere for a parade soon. Plus, Howie was talking about getting Myles Garrett. Tell Howie to leave Myles Garrett alone. You know what? I'm actually happy the Eagles won. Jesus is coming back soon. You okay, Mo? What I mean is maybe this will actually inspire Jerry Jones to do something now. You gotta get a new owner. It's the only way. I'm actually starting to feel bad for the Cowboys. Actually? Nope. You deserve this. And worse. How's Luka, by the way? All right, Eagles. You've gone too far. Oh, snap. Before I forget, I got you something. Put it on. How do you win a Super Bowl and we're still on your mind? Put it on. Are you done? Wait, let me get one this way. Bro, can you airdrop me those? You got them? Can y'all send those to me too? Is there anything else anyone wants to say? Say it now. This is the last meeting of the year. Get it out now, because we ain't having future meetings here. Wait, what? I just want to say, even though we didn't have a good record, it was fun suffering with you guys all season. We didn't get it done this season, but I have hope because of Jaden Daniels. There's no way next year can be worse than this, right? Ha! Fly, Eagles, fly. You're going to be hearing a lot of that going forward. Meeting adjourned. If you don't want the chain, I'll take it. I'm a grown man.
Literally begged to watch this video all stream. This has been linked to me, you not, 47 times over the past 12 hours. The top comment on this video is, someone send this to Tectone, lol. The second comment is, yo, Genshin-kun, are you watching this? Obviously, an NTR reference. Jesus Christ. Okay, what is this? Genshin and Wuwa players reacting to Wuwa waves 2.1. Let's see it, guys. Here we go. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was great. I know. Yeah. Sky's the limit. Amazing. What's crazy is the fishing event is more than an event. A lot of people don't know it's actually a new permanent addition being added to the game, which is huge. Yep. Coming up, let's rip.
Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador.
Yep.
En la chancla.
Listen, man, it is very hard to not be a Hoyo hater in 2025. It really is. Thankfully, Honkai Star Rail is recognizing the error of their ways and is hopefully fixing HSR. Zenless Zone Zero had a magnificent patch in the form of 1.4, and Evelyn just released. But Genshin continues to go downhill, and the problem is these cope motherfuckers are saying, well, it's still making a lot of money, so it's good. Guys, you understand that if the company still makes $100 million every month, it doesn't make it any funner. It doesn't make it any better. Brother, I'm gonna blow your mind. All that money that Genshin's making, it's not going to you. The updates have stayed the same quality since day one. So you're getting nothing from that. It's not going to your mailbox. It's not going to your credit card. You're getting fucking nothing. Genshin doesn't have to improve. I know, and they know that very well.
Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme la chancla y el bañador.
Yep.
Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Eso.
8 months versus 4.5 years, guys. Imagine that.
Había subido la marea con triple paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada.
Bro, they couldn't even do it right.
Las piedras de chipiona.
They couldn't even do it right.
Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera.
You know what's crazy? Here's what's even worse. Wuthering Waves doesn't even need echo loadouts. They just did it just to spite Hoyoverse. Now, I'll be real, guys. If you guys know the inner complexities of design and game design, you'll know that system would take hours to make, right? Hours. Not days, not weeks, not months, hours. And you can make, it is so simple. It is so simple. Wuthering Waves has maybe 20, 25 characters. Guys, Genshin needs one because there's 94 playable characters right now. You need those because there is no way you're going to have enough artifacts to gear up all those people. Wuwa didn't even need it, got it because they say, well, we'll probably need this in the future just in case. The only reason why Genshin would add it now is just to keep playing catch up with Wuwa. Because Genshin's back here, Wuwa's 3 years in the fucking future already. You think you're getting gliders for free in Genshin? Hell no. Have fun with your little parachutes. We got fucking jet engines strapped to the back of every character in Wuwa, man. Oh, wait, that's right. You paid $300 to get it on Mount Vika, ain't that right? Oh, okay. Well, we got it for free over here in Wuthering Waves. Dude, it was so funny watching all of these Genshin CCs sit there and watch the live stream and see it drop and them going, Okay, dear, have fun with your boyfriend. They're sitting there in the cuck chair, seeing every Woo-Wah player get what Genshin players have wanted for 4 years, bro. They're sitting there in that cuck chair, jerking off to every Wuthering Waves update because they know they ain't ever getting that shit in Genshin. $100 million this month. Nah, we can't get those, man. We didn't get enough money, man. Yeah, we can give you filters. We haven't got enough money yet. That motherfucker's still losing a 50-50 on the weapon banner, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That is sad over there, brother. It is sad over there. Oh, man. Okay, honey, can I watch this time, please? Oh, not the sad Jeff emote, bro. Not the sad Jeff emote.
¡Ay, llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla!
I'm gonna die.
Tuyo con el bañador, con el bañador y con la vajilla.
Oh, yeah, guys, we need this feedback on the survey. We just don't know what to do. Oh, you're telling me you don't want to wait till Thursday to farm your materials? Oh, we had no idea. We couldn't figure that out ourselves in 4.5 fucking years. Don't worry, guys. They're listening now. They're listening. Oh, hell no way. Hell no way. Bro went on stage and cried. He cried, and his community believed that shit. Would you like to eat every day or eat once a week? Ass survey. So true.
No vea, a Sevilla. Y al último que cuando ya salió la bien de regla,
True.
estamos llorando. Me cobró el tío la... Me cobró a 500 meses. Y ya no fui más. Me fui andando.
You want more pulls? So you can pull more units? Oh, yeah, we'll just give it to you after the Malvika banner's over. Yeah, man. After Malvika and Sitlal leaders are gone, yeah, now you can go ahead. Here's your 20 pulls, man.
Ando con los amarillos hasta hoy.
Bro, when Woo-Wah releases their version of the teapot, oh my god, I cannot wait. Yeah, the Genshin Impact Serena teapot where you can put 5 items in it, then it says load limit, load limit, load limit.
Me mandó por la noche, había bajado más el agua y por la mañana había subido. Cualquiera estaba donde está la paellera, ¿ves? A lo mejor está en el barco ese del petróleo.
En el Prestige.
En el Petri ese. Y ya no trabajé más la cocina. Ya aborrecí la cocina. Ay. Pues no cobré nada, me dieron el dinero del bote.
¿Había mucho dinero en el bote?
Lo que me echaban y el dinero de lo que gané, me cobraron 20 paelleras. A 500 caras, pues viste lo que me llevé yo para Sevilla. Ay, ya aborrecí la playa. Ay, hemos llorado los dos. Ya está, Jesús, no es para tanto yo. A ti yo no quiero arroz, Jesús, yo no quiero arroz ni en chino, vamos.
Too real, man. Dude, a player will not know true euphoria when they realize enough is enough. When you quit Genshin, oh my god. You will feel so much better. I promise you. It's like when I quit World of Warcraft. I feel better every single fucking day, man. Yeah, I would love for a Genshin CC to react to that and not have tears rolling down their face.
けど今日を過ぎればこの城は永遠に眠りにつくことになるんだ
Really gets me interested because it says, is Genshin critique unfair or should we have higher expectations? Now, I'll be real, I was in this community for 4.5 years from day one, and every single time I would ask for the game to do better, people would say, you're greedy. They can't do that. You don't know how these game companies work. Fast forward, and now I'm part owner of a game company as well, and I actually do know the ins and outs of exactly how it works. But the problem is, I don't think the community understood how the game companies work, and I was the one who was right in a world full of lies. Now, fast forward to now, and now people are coming around, and now it's okay to be constructively critical to some people that the community deems good boys. You know, the people who got good enough PR by sucking DeWay's cock for at least 3 years minimum. So I am curious what this video is going to say. Is the Genshin critique unfair, or should we have higher expectations? Let's say I have no idea what this video is.
Every time I critique Genshin's storytelling or gameplay, there will be people in the comments saying the same thing. It's just a gacha game, what do you expect? While so many say it's best to ignore the comments, in my experience, people often make good points. Even when I disagree with their premise,
the only time anybody should be saying, oh, it's a gacha game, shut up, is if somebody says, oh god, this game has gacha in it? Yeah, no shit, it's a gacha game.
discussions they spark can be fascinating.
But saying a gacha game can't be good is so dumb. To be honest, gacha games should be the best because they make the most money.
And it's always important to be open to having your mind changed. But while I am, of course, open to being persuaded on this, I absolutely think that this perspective is objectively a bad thing.
Absolutely.
So why do some people engage in critique while others try to make a stand against it? Does one side have unrealistically high expectations? Are the other side giving huge corporations a pass even at their own expense?
Absolutely.
Is there even a point in having these discussions in the first place?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to get out of the way before we really get...
The reason why there's so many CCs who are sucking the dick of the company is because they know their channel can't survive if they stop.
Into it is the assumption some people seem to make that anyone who uploads their thoughts to YouTube must think their perspective is somehow more important than anyone else's. Maybe some people are like that, but for me, that is absolutely not the case. Every single person watching or commenting on these videos has a perspective on it just as worth hearing as my own. The only difference is that I've taken the time to write mine out with a bit of structure, revisited and refined it a few times throughout the process, and put it out there in the hopes that it'll spark some interest. There's nothing stopping you from doing exactly the same. One of my favorite things is when someone comments saying they enjoyed the video and appreciated hearing my thoughts, but that their perspective on it is entirely the opposite of mine. Respectful dissenting opinions will always be valued.
Yeah, I actually got a comment similar to that from another content creator by the name of Sip Steven that just kind of made me, I just remembered this. So I made a post kind of going into Genshin Impact being a copycat of Breath of the Wild and Wuthering Waves being a copycat of Genshin Impact, and Steven responded with, okay, not to be a Hoyo shill, but could you not argue that although Genshin did take inspiration from Breath of the Wild, they did modernize the gacha game genre and bring it to the standard we currently hold the genre at today? No. No, absolutely not. And here's the reason why. Because Genshin Impact took Breath of the Wild, made it a worse game, and then said, yeah, no, pay $300 a character. There was no standard that they brought. Now, I will admit it had the most mainstream appeal, and good job for them, but to be honest, the majority of their business practices have been holding this genre back as a whole. You know that 50-50 system that they so love? Well, now it's in every fucking gacha game, and it fucking sucks. Thankfully, Wuthering Waves is waking up to that shit and saying, no pity on the banner, but Genshin Impact modernized a lot of very greedy corporate practices. Whereas Wuthering Waves stole from Genshin Impact, and I'm saying that because that's what Genshin players say about what Wuthering Waves did from Genshin. They get so upset when you say that Genshin stole from Breath of the Wild. Yeah, it's very hypocritical, I know. Is that Wuthering Waves improved upon the foundation, whereas all that Genshin did was predatory. Make the foundation more predatory. I think personally without Genshin, this genre, though predatory, would probably not have been adopted by the mainstream gaming audience to this degree we see today. No, Sip Steven, it was not Genshin that caused this breakout. I'm going to blow your mind here. It was COVID, okay? Genshin did not succeed because it was good. Genshin succeeded because there was nothing else to do during COVID. Genshin without COVID is 1/5 of the size that it is today, and you know that's a fucking fact.
Valued in my corners of the internet. Over the course of multiple videos and several thousand comments, there were many different points of contention. Some people feel there are specific reasons we cannot hold Hoyo to higher standards. Some agreed with parts of my perspective, but disagreed with the way I was presenting it. Some even fundamentally disagreed with the idea of people posting critique whatsoever. Each of these deserves consideration. Let's start with the more overarching ones first, and make our way towards the more specific ones. The most high level of all is the idea that we should not post critique at all. This one is almost incomprehensible to me, so if this was you and my interpretation of what you're saying is inaccurate, please explain. I think this is coming from a perspective where critique is seen as an attack, as if the critic is trying to tear things down, ruin everyone's enjoyment, denounce the creators, and maybe even paint anyone who does like it as someone who has poor taste. Viewed through this lens, critique is almost an attempt to say this thing should not exist, or to discourage the creator from continuing to create. As someone who made a living in the world of art and design, I can't emphasize enough that this could not be further from the truth. All art is subjective, and a major reason it's so fascinating is that it can elicit such different responses in different people. Talking about it is a good thing, both for the people who are creating it and the people who are discussing it. As a creator, it's paramount that you get feedback about how your audience are reacting to your work. While some art is for the...
Chat, would y'all not get pissed off if every single time I went live for the next 3 years, I just disabled chat? And I made it sub-only mode, where I said, yeah, I might look at chat if you pay $6. So if that would upset you all for this, then why aren't these people being upset when they realize, oh, they only listen to us when they're low on money? It's pathetic.
The creator alone, most is intended to be experienced by others, games perhaps more so than other mediums. Critique is a key avenue for the audience to provide feedback to creators who can then gauge whether they successfully achieved their intent, whether there are things they could do to improve, or maybe even spark some new ideas for the future. And as an audience, engaging in critique can open up whole new perspectives and let you see things in ways which you never would have done before. Some people do prefer to avoid it for that reason. Once you start looking deeper, it can change how you experience a story. And for some people, that's not what they want at all, which is perfectly fine too. For me, and for many others who engage in these kinds of conversations, you get to enjoy the story once when you first experience it, and then enjoy it multiple other times as you get to see it in different lights from different angles, often greatly enriching your experience of it. Even when a critique is pointing to a flaw I didn't notice in something I enjoyed immensely, for me, it doesn't detract from the original experience. Nothing in this world is flawless. The Japanese art of kintsugi is a great visual metaphor for how this works for many of us. Imperfection gives things soul, and flaws do not diminish value. And even if the critique is painting things as fundamentally broken, that doesn't invalidate any enjoyment anyone gained from it. A more common point was that it's unfair to have high expectations of gacha games specifically. Some of these were due to how I personally frame my critiques.
How the fuck did the 5-star lose to the 4-star? Can somebody explain that to me? Because that is not how Genshin Impact works.
And others were a more broad perspective on expectations. In my videos, I'll often reference something from a completely different context to illustrate and clarify the point I'm trying to make. For example, when talking about Genshin's poor use of subtext, I brought up how it's handled in The Lord of the Rings. Or when talking about the integration of lore in narrative, I referenced Dune. For many people, this diluted the point I was trying to make because they feel it's unfair. In some cases, due to the fundamental differences between games and film or TV. In others, because of the difference in approach between live service games and AAA titles, and, more fundamentally, because the media I tend to reference is the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. It's kinda weird to have to say this, but when I reference these things, I am not saying that Genshin is a failure unless it lives up to these examples. I try to find a piece of media which exemplifies the aspect of storytelling that I'm focusing on to make it clear what I'm talking about and to showcase just how fantastic it can be when it's really dialed up to 11. Note that I also reference indie games made by tiny teams. For example, Jasan as the pinnacle of how fun a more restrictive and gamified approach to cliff climbing traversal can be. If you don't use anything as a benchmark for comparison, then there's no common ground for discussion.
Yeah, people who villainize people who compare certain mediums to other mediums. Is how, okay, competition is what breeds success. And when your competition does better, you will have to do better because you have to live up to the standards set by the standards of the gaming genre. So obviously you have to compare things like Genshin Impact to Wuthering Waves. No, it's not toxic. It's what any informed individual would fucking do because that is Genshin Impact's biggest competition.
While there are different ways to solve that, the simplest is to show how far the scale can go. And it should go without saying that we're not expecting that every single thing should reach that level. Once you have a shared understanding of what you're talking about, then you can acknowledge that yes, this aspect of the game could be more effective if it took a step or two in that direction. But honestly, while the idea...
It's like, for example, how are you supposed to know if a hamburger tastes good if you've never tasted a hamburger before? Wouldn't you say that a man who's tasted 10,000 hamburgers could give you a better review on your hamburger rather than somebody says, yummy, yummy. They say, well, the bun's a little bit soft, softer than I'm used to. The meat's a little bit overcooked. Obviously, you need to try more burgers to know how good the burger is that you're tasting. Call Shinya. He's had many of them.
The idea that we should hold gachas to the same standards as AAA games was not even on my radar when making those comparisons. Should we really accept a lower quality bar just because it's a gacha game? In the end, we're all choosing whether to spend our limited time on this world playing this game, and whether we like it or not, it is directly competing with all these other things for our attention. There are a few facets to this, and each of them does deserve consideration. First, one argument which I've actually seen people put forward is that gacha games cannot afford the same level of investment as AAA games.
It's just a
this
joke.
overlooks just how profitable gachas can be in general, and completely ignores how much Hoyo invests into Genshin. While gachas historically did not bother to compete with AAA games, their revenue per dollar invested is reportedly much higher than any AAA game could ever dream of.
Okay, why the fuck is Malvika and Capitano in the background of Dragon Ball Z fight? What the fuck is going on? Like, Senora and Venti's fight was a punch to the stomach. Why the fuck is Malvika Goku? The power level system in this game makes no sense. How the fuck is Zhongli and Raiden Shogun supposed to keep up with Goku? I mean, it looks really cool, but like, how are they explaining the power scaling system straight up?
Outside of a few live service behemoths like GTA, Hoyo made the bet that an open-world gacha game with quality akin to AAA expectations would be worth the investment. They reportedly spent $100 million to develop it before launch and invest a further $200 million every year for ongoing development. That's a similar annual budget to the entire budget for many of these AAA games we're talking about. Their bet paid off spectacularly well, with Genshin earning billions. For a while, people joked that they had found the infinite money glitch. Even if the revenue decline is as steep as various trackers claim, Genshin's income still justifies that level of investment, so its budget is huge even by the highest standards. Genshin may be an outlier here compared to other gachas, but to argue that they don't have enough money to make improvements is misguided at best. However, even if they can afford the level of investment, there is a valid argument that the monetization method of gacha games inevitably has an effect on how they tell their stories. Gachas live and die by releasing new characters at a regular cadence, and the best of them integrate each new character into the story in turn. This results...
Yeah, the problem is when you have 94 fucking characters and 90% of them are forgotten about because, well, they're not on sale this banner, so we're just going to go ahead and forget they ever existed. Guys, I want to remind you guys, it's been 4 years since Eula's story, ready for this? ... part 1. Where the fuck is Eula's story part 2? Oh, let me tell you where it's at. It's never fucking coming because she's not going to sell.
In a very large cast of characters, and a story which by necessity rotates through them at a steady pace, as new characters take center stage while older ones slowly fade into the background. This does absolutely put strict guardrails in place which restrict the story that the game can tell. However, as many creative people will tell you, having a framework around which you develop your art can be a good thing for...
Every story character has a part 1? Yeah, I know, guys. That's the point. They're telling you incomplete stories in mass. And you're slopping it up, expecting more, and you say, oh, I can't wait for the next part. It's never fucking coming. That's why Wuthering Waves tells complete stories and wraps up with a nice bow, and it does not say, hey, part 2 coming soon. It's just not happening. Or they just don't have it. Case in point, Calcharo, rest in piss. Where the fuck is your story quest?
Creativity. Much of this is a solved problem in the gacha space. Genshin does it by having the traveler move from region to region with a different cast of characters in each area and occasional throwbacks to older regions. That's a simple framework within which there's tons of scope to tell fantastic stories. They've already managed to do so multiple times. One argument, which I haven't seen mentioned much, possibly because I've made it myself pretty explicitly in many videos, is that gacha character marketing is somewhat at odds with some fundamentals of good stories. A common perspective is...
You know what really sucks about this video? Of how good it is? But the problem is that this woman is speaking so eloquently and at such a high level, people will probably not understand what she's saying and tune it out because they're too dumb to understand.
that the essence of a story is something changed. People tend to care most about stories which focus on relatable characters, so a natural next step is this character changed. Much narrative theory explores how to show characters changing in ways which capture our imagination and make us care. However, gacha marketing is arguably at its best when it can describe a character in a way which is concise, cohesive, and unchanging. This character is a bubbly and enthusiastic tour guide. This one is a reserved and snarky fashionista. This one is a carefree wandering samurai with a troubled past. This desire for a definitive description of each character is at odds with the tendency to want characters to grow throughout a story. As I try to emphasize...
Yeah, well, here's the problem with characters like Hua Hua. Hua Hua's character lives and dies by her character growth, and she'll have fucking none. She's gonna be a crying bitch character for the whole game, and it's unfucking bearable.
In my recent Clorand video, even the most wooden and unchanging character can be made to feel alive by showcasing change in other ways. In Clorand's case, regardless of whether you consider her an interesting character or not, it's undeniable that her relationship with Navia changes significantly over the course of the story, and that this makes her at least a little more interesting than she would otherwise have been. Or, to show a different approach, Shen Yun feels dynamic not because she changes, but because our perspective of her changes. She seemed uppity and uncaring the first dozen times we meet her in her bird form, but in her story quest we discover that this was a facade, and just below the surface she's incredibly caring and kind to those around her.
Yeah, there are
restrictions on what stories Genshin can tell.
It's like Eula, right? Eula's one of my favorite characters in Genshin Impact. I love everything about her backstory, where it's like she seems like such an uppity, prideful bitch, but then you realize she has a massive chip on her shoulder because she lives a life of tainted reputation due to those she's had relations with, not sexual, like her family. Which is like very relatable to me, how a lot of my bad reputation has spawned, you know, based on who I'm homies with. And when I was a kid too, like parents would tell their kids when I was in high school to not hang out with me because I was a bad influence. And I'm just like, why? Because they saw that my dad was a dickhead. And it's like, well, me and my dad are very different people. And that shit's lame as fuck. So I enjoyed that story, but the problem is it's never going to be expanded on. We never get to see if Mondstadt forgives Eula for what her family does. And it's just been left on a cliffhanger for 4 years. I would absolutely go back to Genshin if we got the part 2 to request. But I know we're not going to. Now we just know that Eula's reputation is in shambles, and we never get to see it.
But those restrictions do not make it impossible for those stories to be compelling. And that's not even getting to the question of whether...
But like, you gotta be a dumb motherfucker to say, well, his great-great-grandfather did this, which means I hate him. Bro, I wasn't even alive when that happened. Why the fuck am I getting generational guilt for some bullshit that I didn't even do?
It actually makes any sense for them to impose this restriction on themselves in the first place. Another common point of contention is that gacha games have limited time in which to create their stories, so they're inherently more rushed and the quality bar should naturally be lower. On one hand, no matter what the situation is, the developer's work-life balance always matters more than any desire for consistent or quality updates on behalf of the audience. But on the other hand, this argument doesn't match up with anything we know about Genshin's development cycle. Let's take Nanlang, for example. Many people making this argument seem to be under the impression that Hoyo would have been cramming most of the work for the story's finale into the 6 weeks leading up to its release. While it's certainly possible that was the case, if it was, then something is hideously wrong. For example, we know for a fact that voice actors tend to record their lines months in advance of the patch actually being released. The English...
Well, some of the voice actors. Because, like 90% of those bitches on strike, brother. And thank God that Hu Tao's voice actor was on strike, so I don't have to hear Silly Churl, Billy Churl, Silly Willy, Billy Churl. Holy thank God.
Voice actor strike started towards the end of July, and some actors' pre-recorded voice lines were still in the game all the way until 5.2, which was released in October. That means they had finalized dialogue ready to record something like 3 months in advance, and voice acting comes towards the end of the process. All of the idea generation, writing, refinement, feedback and approval cycles, translation, and so on were by necessity finished before that. Unless someone comes up with some conclusive proof that they really do cram all the development in the last minute, the content treadmill argument doesn't quite work. Hoyo started developing it.
Here's the big problem. A lot of people will see these cutscenes and they'll think, wow, it's so cool. And to be fair, it is. It's very flashy. But here's the motto of Genshin Impact. All flash, no substance. And it doesn't matter how many cool things look like they're happening, they're not going to signify to anything deep or meaningful happening within the story. And it's like, oh, look at this, so shiny. And it's like, okay, well, why did it happen? Oh, we don't know. We just did it for fun. It's just like, what's the point?
Genshin in January 2017. By the time the game released in 2020, they already have at least a rough outline for the entire story. Nalan didn't release until almost 4 years later. I'm speculating here, of course, but while they will have focused on the earlier regions for much of that time, it would have been bizarre if they did not start putting together Nalan's story before the game even came out, and continue developing it on and off throughout. Those early years must have included collaboration across all teams working on design, gameplay, narrative, and so on, all working towards a vision for the story. After release,
why was Ning Guang the face of Act 1 when she did barely f***ing anything in Liyue?
Once each nation is finished, they likely have an entire year to work on converting the next nation's story from an outline into a finished script,
at least makes
the annual
sense.
release cadence is the primary constraint. If that's even remotely true, then they don't have 6 weeks to create each patch's story. They actually have much longer. Of course, even if it is for any given story, it's possible that they had to throw out all their work at the last minute and put together something different. The point is that even if this did happen, it would not be due to a 6-week content release cycle and would be caused by fundamental problems with the story itself. I'm sure there are other similar arguments, but from what I can tell, they all
Yan-san is the face of Natlan and she does f***ing nothing. Isn't Yan-san the midget?
all boil down to excuses which don't really make much sense. Gacha games make good money selling characters, and there's no reason that they should not be held up to a reasonable quality standard.
Yeah, Lene makes
in a
sense for
market where
Fontaine.
most gachas do not put in the effort,
I
it
get
just
it.
means there's a potential gap for a game which does raise the quality bar. The more they make the audience care about the characters, the more people will feel compelled to spend money on them. The better the story, the more people care. If anything, a game being a gacha should mean they have more incentive to make the story shine. Another contention raised by many was that they feel that you shouldn't critique a story which is still in progress. Again, I wholeheartedly disagree. I do agree.
Absolutely. If you can't judge something until it's finished, then you can't talk about Genshin at all. Because everything feels unpolished and unfinished. Which is such a impossible to pander to perspective. That's like if I eat a hamburger with a pile of shit in it, they say, I don't want to hear your opinion until you finish every last drop. Sorry, bitch. If my hamburger got a pile of shit in it, I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to say, damn, that tasted like shit.
That when a story is incomplete, the fact that there is more to come should change the way you view it. For example, in my video where I explored
I keep talking about hamburgers, man. I'm pretty sure I'm hungry.
my first impressions of Fontaine, I mentioned that I disliked Furina's bratty persona, but I emphasized
Yeah, Farina is so bratty.
that my hope for her was for this to be a setup which allowed them to show her growing as a person, and that this could make her a brilliant character in the end.
Farina is the best character in Genshin Impact, and there is no other character that even comes close. I would say Farina, Kazuha, Ito, and Eula are the most complete characters. Not complete, the most complete characters in the game so far. I would say none of them are true fully completed, but the closest to it. Neuvillette is cool. Neuvillette is cool.
The fact that the future installments can change the story does not make that initial discussion any less worthwhile. Each part of an ongoing story can be critiqued in isolation. You just need to be mindful that there is more to come, and look for ways that the future chapters could recontextualize
Capitano and Neuvillette better? Bro, Capitano can suck my balls, bro. Ain't nobody give a fuck about that Dragon Spine NPC.
the aspects you're critiquing. And seriously, looking in depth at a story which is currently in progress is often more interesting than analyzing something finished. And when it comes to episodic stories like Genshin, arguing that people should hold off on their critique until after the entire arc is done is a really odd take. That's like saying that people should not have talked about Arcane Season 1 until after Season 2 was done. Yet, some of the most interesting analysis of that show breaks things down episode by episode, let alone season by season. It's important to acknowledge that future chapters could change things entirely. That does not mean that the discussion should just wait until it's done. Many people also argued that there are hard limitations on what Hoyo are able to achieve with Genshin for reasons which are unrelated to the gacha model. One of the biggest is that they're limited by running an older engine, which isn't really built for the type of game Genshin ended up becoming. There's a lot of merit to this argument. Most of the really well-known games built in Unity are very different from Genshin. Ones like Hollow Knight, Ori, Subnautica, or City Skylines, for example. Many of these games are fantastic, but the choice to build Genshin in Unity does absolutely hold them back in some ways.
But it also enhances them in a lot of other ones, because it does very well on lower-end phones, so more people can play it.
However, for a lot
So now everybody can play their slop, because it runs on every machine.
of the points where people bring this up as a justification, it really doesn't apply. For example, some argued that the game engine is what prevents them from making their in-game cutscenes feel cinematic, which completely ignores the fact that cinematography is all about camera work, composition, and timing, which Unity is no less capable of than any other engine.
Anybody who says that is a fucking moron.
There's nothing stopping Hoya from adding more expressions and dynamics to the characters.
And by the way, if that's your reasoning for why the game can't do better, then that's even a better reason to quit playing the fucking game and play anything else. If your take is, oh, well, it can never get better, the engine fucks it. Okay, good, then quit. Always demand more from your companies.
They have even done so in this year's Lantern Ride, showing characters hugging in-engine. When people critique things like Genshin cinematography, we're not saying we expect it
Yeah, man, no artifact loadout because of the engine, guys, trust me.
Reach the levels of the world's greatest filmmakers. We're just saying that the game would benefit from making more effort in that area, and we always point to places where they have been putting that effort in and praising them for it. The game engine does impose restrictions on what Hoya can achieve with Genshin. That doesn't mean that they should not make an effort to push it to its limits. Another key limitation is that a large part of Genshin's audience plays on mobile phones.
True.
Much like the game engine point, this does introduce a ton of restrictions. The game needs to work at lower graphical fidelity levels on different
Isn't Unity also running Arknight's Enfield? Yes, and doesn't it look beautiful?
screen dimensions and with different control formats. While they could avoid these limits by dropping mobile as a platform, mobile users are a huge and vitally important part of the audience, so that is not a solution that they should ever consider. However,
You know what was nice for Wuthering Waves? Even though they have a large mobile audience, they still said, well, if you're on PC and you have a higher performing engine or a higher performing PC, then you can turn on RTX on PC, so it actually makes each experience feel unique. It's very nice, isn't it?
in my recent videos, this point was most often made as a response to my wish for the Archon quest to have more visible, lasting consequences in the overworld after the story is over. I find that quite odd. For one thing, they do exactly what I'm asking for in the game already. It's just tied to world quests instead of the Archon quests. Many world quests change the state of the world either permanently or temporarily, and as far as I'm aware, they work fine on mobile too. What's stopping them from doing the same as part of an Archon quest? A valid argument against that is that the consequences I was asking for would be more wide-reaching, and if they did that regularly, it could take up more storage space. But even if adding a few more states to the world does have an outsized effect on storage use, why absolutely have the money to invest in systems?
Wait, are we really still stuck on 60 FPS in WUA? Because we were on 30. Wait, we have 120 in WUA? Oh wait, Genshin doesn't have 120 FPS? Damn, bro. Genshin has 120 only on iOS. What the fuck? Nah, bro, I'd kill myself, low-key.
Which allow for dynamic loading and
hell
deleting
no.
of data to minimize its impact.
Hell
From
no.
my perspective, it's more a question of whether the more impactful storytelling this would enable would be worth the investment it would take to make it happen. And since only Hoya can have any idea of how much it would cost, we can't really say whether it's even possible. If it would be far more difficult than it might seem, then fair enough. But that doesn't mean that we should just not even mention the possibility. Talking about ways the story could have been more impactful is never a bad thing. Another interesting point, which we can never really know for sure, is that since Genshin is highly popular cultural export made by a Chinese company, there's a good chance that their hands are tied, so to speak, when it comes to certain aspects of storytelling and character design, for example. It's
Just because a company can't do it, that's not going to make me feel bad for them. If there's something that I want and they say, sorry, we can't do that, I'm not going to change my expectations. I'll say, okay, well, I'll find someone who can. If I have a broken fucking washing machine and I go to the washing machine guy and he says, oh, well, we can't fix it because you live in this quadrant, I'm not going to say, oh, okay, well, then my washing machine's fine. I'm going to say, oh, okay, I'm going to find another company that can.
possible that this influenced
God,
the
these
Hoyo's
people are so
direction,
dumb
but
to
in many
settle for this
cases,
shit.
this point seems a little overblown. For example, the censorship laws around blood and violence are often cited as reason they may avoid properly exploring the consequences of war. But if you look up more of the details,
Why is she
these
sucking on
laws
her
are
titties?
more around things like graphic depictions of blood itself, rather than a restriction on exploring the topic in its entirety. It's certainly possible to explore these themes without falling foul of that kind of censorship. I could definitely see there being a more subtle influence, but either way, this particular point is always going to be based on speculation and inference, and each person will make different assumptions on how this influences the storytelling. Personally, I don't think it's all that strong, but I 100% recognize that that's entirely based on vibes. I'd be fascinated to know for sure. One final important
think every
limitation
story
is that
needs
the
blood to be
story is
good, but I do
originally
like
written
seeing
in
it.
Chinese and is translated into other languages. And of course, translation is difficult. And while it's hard enough just for surface level conversations, when it comes to things like subtext, the difficulty is even more acute. This
Yeah, I don't care, man. If I'm giving this company hundreds of billions of dollars, they can figure it the fuck out.
is a valid point, but it is a problem that Hoyo could throw money at to solve.
And they're
For
not.
example, they could expand their script so that in addition to the words the characters say, it explicitly explains the intended subtext and give the translators the time and space to adjust the character statements more.
Guys, I'm gonna give a hot take. I think Genshin should take the money that they got from the players and use it to improve their game. That's what I think. What do you guys think? I know it's a hot take, but that's what I think.
In order to convey any missing subtext so that it's tailored to different audiences. Subtext is arguably a universal language, and there's a whole host of fantastic TV shows and films which have successfully been translated without losing all that extra meaning. That may increase
Greedy?
the difficulty of translating
My
the
bad.
content, but if that
Greedy
is
and
the
stupid,
reason
right,
that
Mr.
Hoyo
Bogan?
fail when it comes to subtext in the translated versions, there's nothing stopping them from investing more to fix that. It just has to be something they feel is worth it to do. There are also many who argued that regardless of any limitations, they feel there are important justifications that explain why things are the way they are. One, which is super weird to me, is the argument that it is the way it is because of the law. This came up in response to one of my examples for how Natlan's story could have been made to feel like it has more lasting consequences. After the war with the Abyss in Act 4, it felt odd to me that the overworld instantly reverted to the green and gorgeous landscape we had seen just beforehand, and would have felt the story had more impact if the world had instead been left with some stray areas of corruption which could go around cleaning up if we wanted to. Some people's arguments against this was that the story says the Abyss is in retreat, or that the law says it should work like this. For one thing, this feels a bit irrelevant. If the problem is that the Abyss was completely beaten back, then there are easy ways to tweak that suggestion which would avoid it. For example, what if
Yeah, well, Genshin made a really poor story choice, so you should support it. Okay, dude.
hilly churls and other normal monsters spread out and took over the land abandoned by the humans during the war and while they were recovering?
All these people were saying, yeah, but the lore, and then the nation of war is the nation of dinosaurs and cyberpunk DJs and motorcycles. Yeah, man, we're really sticking to that lore, huh?
There are easy enough ways to convey the same level of actual aftermath without even changing any of the plot points. But regardless,
Like, I mean that shit on gang.
Hoyo writes the story. If they had wanted to add that specific point, they could have just tweaked a few lines of dialogue so that instead of all of the Abyss was beaten back, it said the main army of the Abyss was beaten back, leaving the possibility of some stragglers being left behind. When we're talking about potential ways to improve the story, we're explicitly looking for changes they would have to make. Saying they can't do that because they would have to change the story for it to work is missing the point.
Yeah, they shouldn't have written the shitty fucking story like that.
Another argument many made in response to that point about consequences is that the game does have some stories which result in the exact kind of thing I was asking for. This is true to some extent. Some quests do.
Guys, I've been seeing people saying that the weapon banner should stay a 50-50 because if not, the company won't make enough money to give them the changes that we want. There are literally people that cope who are saying that shit.
Cause consequences in the world, for example, some NPCs disappearing from the overworld after the war in Natlan. However, while those kinds of consequences are welcome additions, they lack the breadth and depth which I was pointing towards when making that point. Widespread war is devastating. The consequences we did get are so minor that only a few people even noticed them. I simply feel that the story would have been more impactful if they had taken it further. People also often made the point that much of the thematic depth and nuance that I'm looking for exists in the game. It's just that it's in the world quests rather than the Archon quests. That was kind of my whole point. That the game does have fantastic depth, but it often fails to bring that depth to the Archon quests. World quests are optional and are a great place for Hoya to dive deeper into the lore and expand on everything we love about Teyvat, but these are optional side quests. Their existence does not excuse the Archon quests from telling a cohesive and compelling story. The Archon quests should stand on their own even without the added context of the world quests. If world building is an iceberg, then the Archon quest should be the view we get from the surface. We should see the visible story and some hints of what lurks beneath the surface, and the connection between the two should be visible. The story quests can then expose a deeper layer of the iceberg which was hidden underwater, and the scattered lore in books throughout the world and the descriptions of items and artifacts can explore the layers even deeper than that. If the Archon quest did a better job at this, it would make people more excited to dive deeper, since even people who currently don't really get into the world quest would feel more hooks dragging them further into the world. One justification for the lower quality of the story is that the target audience of the game is young. For one thing, I'm unconvinced that the target audience actually is that young, considering that in order to spend on a gacha game, you need money, and generally speaking, the people with disposable income are adults. But that's not even my main disagreement with that perspective. Kids are more intelligent than people give them credit. I was a child once, and even then I hated it when media talked down to me. I happily watched films intended for older audiences as well as family films, or read books written for adults. Even if the—
Yeah, I've been watching porn since I was like 7 years old, man. First porn I ever saw, Dragon Ball Issue 2. Bulma's titties as she's taking a shower and Yamcha looks through the window. Yep, I circled it with a red crayon. That shit was fire, bro.
The audience skews young, that's no excuse to dumb the story down. Another potential justification is that the lower writing quality and prevalence of slop content comes from Hoya trying to increase playtime. In other words, while they could afford better writing, they deliberately avoid it because it would make their stories shorter and decrease playtime. If this were true, then it would be very disrespectful to the players and in my opinion would be a misguided direction. Given a choice between lots of low quality story to wade through or less content at a much higher quality level, I'd expect the vast majority of people would choose quality over quantity. If anything, I'd want them to add a skip button to the game and track how often people use it and use that as their primary metric for gauging how successful their story is. The closer they get to 0 people ever deciding to skip, the better.
True.
And finally, there were some common responses which essentially dismissed the entire discussion out of hand. First, the "these are just your opinions, bro" response. All critique is opinion. That's kind of the point. Many people find it interesting to talk about things they enjoy and hear other people's takes and—
Yeah, that's why I'm so tired of these fucking pussy motherfuckers saying, it's just his opinion, you can't be mad at it. Yes, I fucking can. If your opinion is that you like lollies, I'm gonna fucking make fun of you.
compare them to their own. It enhances the entire experience for them and makes them enjoy it more. Anyone who doesn't feel that way can just not click on the video. Some subset of this argues that certain discussions are too nitpicky and focus too much on smaller details. I kinda have the same response there. Many people find joy in looking closer. People who find it annoying don't have to take part in those discussions. People really should stop getting offended when others share their perspective. In today's internet culture, it seems that for many people, nuance is utterly dead.
If you say this game needs work, they take it as, oh my god, he told me to kill myself! He said it was the worst ever! Everybody's a professional victim in 2025.
I seem to think that the moment someone says anything even slightly negative about something, that means they are a hater who hates the thing and despises anyone who likes it and wants to burn it to the ground.
Hey, that's why I just gave up. That's why I shit on this game relentlessly. Because these dumb f***s are never going to understand nuance, ever. So it's like, okay, you want a villain? Alright, I'll become it, man. I will be exactly what you pretend I am. Absolutely, man. Why not?
Well, back in the world of sane people, it's healthy to be able to look at something you love and see that it's not perfect. Nothing is. Acknowledging and even analyzing its flaws does not mean you hate it. Genshin is one of my favorite games of all time. Genshin has flaws that I notice while playing it and which I enjoy talking about with other people. It's weird that some people can't comprehend that both can be true at the same time. One oddly common argument is that since the game is free, we have no right to say anything negative. This entirely ignores that while it is free to play, it earns more than other comparable games would. The idea that Hoyo giving this game away for free results in them not having any resources to further improve it just completely.
The game's not given to you for free when the best parts of the game are locked behind $300 at max. Okay? Come the fuck on. It's the same thing with Fortnite. Fortnite is not a free fucking game when all the cosmetics are locked behind tons of fucking dollars. We have every right to criticize it, absolutely.
Completely ignores the basic facts. And even if they did earn nothing, as consumers who spend our time engaging with what they have created, we would still be well within our rights to share our perspective on their creation. A more understanding...
Yeah, exactly. It's a free ticket to walk into Walmart. Oh, well, it's free to go to Walmart, man. I'm not going to complain about their $8 Oreos. Absolutely I am.
response was that the devs don't listen, or more specifically, that they don't care what Westerners think.
True.
I'd be surprised if they don't pay any attention to the international community at all, but there are valid reasons for them to care more about the audience closer to home for them. As I mentioned right at the start, my perspective is no more important than anyone else's, and I'd be surprised if anyone at Hoyo has even seen one of my videos, let alone paid attention to them. That's simply...
Oh, I know they've seen what I've done. I'm well aware they know me very well. Absolutely.
not the point of them at all.
You want to know how I know they know me? Man, they blacklist my ass so fast. And every 3 months or so, I say, hey, go see if you can get me a Genshin sponsor. Every time, yeah, they're just not responding. It's weird how everybody else is getting them. Because every other mobile game wants my ass to cover everything. So kind of weird, isn't it?
I simply feel that these discussions are worth having, just for the sake of talking about interesting perspectives on things we collectively care about because it's fun. Another is that applying Western storytelling norms to a game from a completely different culture makes no sense. This assumes that people critiquing the game are expecting it to conform to Western norms. The type of person who plays Genshin is unlikely to be so insular as to think that Western storytelling tropes are the only lens through which to see the world. For me, personally, many stories from Eastern culture speak to me on a profound level, and I'd love to see Western media learn how to branch out from the usual structures and embrace things like Kishore Tenketsu, for example. While anyone's perspective on story will always be influenced by what they've experienced before, it's odd to assume that in today's world, any given person is limited to one specific viewpoint. And finally, those who dismiss any critique by saying, "You go write a story then if you're so smart."
Oh, bro, just fucking shoot yourself.
For one thing, critiquing doesn't require you to be smart. For another, many people enjoy analyzing stories far more than they'd ever enjoy writing.
You go
the two
make
are
Genshin
adjacent,
then.
but different
Oh,
sets
Jesus.
of skills. There are many fantastic YouTube channels dedicated to dissecting their favorite media, and the points they make are often fascinating. Whether they spend their time creating their own stories or not is irrelevant. And honestly, I'd love to write stories. It's one of the reasons I like to engage in
Yeah, it's a
discussions.
good point, bro. Somebody probably said that to Dong at Kuro Games, and he said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get right on that.
Analyze the successes and flaws of other people's writing. But even people who don't share that dream can certainly enjoy these discussions just as much. So, are we expecting too much? I would argue absolutely not. We're hoping for the game to live up to its potential and expecting the developers to do their best, and that's not asking too much at all. Players invest a ton of time and money into the game and have every right to expect a return in the form of quality content and engaging storytelling. Critique isn't about tearing down the game, it's about wishing for it to be the best version of itself. Genshin is brilliant at some things and not so great at others. Pointing this out does not constitute hating on the game. If anything, it's an expression of love. It comes from wanting to see something you enjoy reach its full potential. While any one voice will always be too small to make a difference, the sentiment of the audience as a whole is important. If fans excuse poor storytelling or gameplay issues, the developers have less incentive to innovate or improve. If we talk about these problems and ask for things to get better, then of course they still might not listen. But even if they don't, it's a conversation worth having. Until next time.
I think that was a great video and a very good perspective, and I'm glad I watched that. Yeah, more people need to be open to having their favorite things being constructively criticized. I heard that person also has a Wuwa 2.0 video where they edit it or criticize. I'm actually very interested in watching that, but it was a great video. Yeah, I would link it, but it's AI, so no, I'm good. But yeah, great video.